we've entered a new age of Clicksploitation. Every year, new things fall into the public domain, and that means every year there's some childhood favorite, which then becomes a slasher movie. Uh, Last year was Pooh, Blood and Honey. This year it's not Mickey Mouse. Some indie filmmaker is going to get sued back to the fucking Stone Age. It's Steamboat Willie, which is actually a parody of a Buster Keaton short called Steamboat Billy, which came out like 7 months before that. I was telling that to a friend of mine who's a filmmaker as well, and he said, "Who's Buster Keaton?" And then he told me I was wrong, and he said that that's Charlie Chaplin. And I said, no, Buster Keaton, and Buster Keaton's great granddaughter's Carmilla Keaton, who was in I Spit on Your Grave. But that has nothing to do with this. Yeah, so this is nothing new, obviously. Taking public domain characters and reworking them into new stories goes way, way back. I mean, probably the most prolific example of this would be something like, well, I mean, you could do the Mother Goose stuff and the Brothers Grimm stuff where they put them all together back in like the 80s. You had like the Rockin' Mother Goose or whatever with like Shelley Duvall and shit like that. But I would say Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, taking all these Victorian era characters that were in public domain, putting them all together on a team. Even like the Asylum did it with their Grimm squad, which was like a Suicide Squad, but with Brothers Grimm characters together in it. It's nothing new. It's all been done. To quote Bare Naked Ladies, like I don't remember them. It's been 1 week since anyone talked about that. I should probably start this over, but we're already too deep into it. So the idea of turning Winnie the Pooh into a slasher movie got a ton of fucking clicks. And I'm of two minds about this subject. Once something falls into the public domain, great. It is yours to do with as you please. And I'm all for that. But also, again, I'm conflicted in my own mind. Slasher movies are the easiest, cheapest way to exploit this loophole in American copyright law. So I understand why some Brits. Actually, well, I guess it wouldn't be. I think every country has their own different. It's like 100 years past the creator's death, or 70 years, something like that. I probably should have done a little research before I started this. But some Brits got together and they got an immortal mask, one of those really cool, really expensive silicone masks that they do, and it's a Winnie the Pooh one, and they made a Winnie the Pooh slasher movie. And I saw it and I went, oh, all right, well. I'm a dummy because I said, well, yeah, that's going to be terrible, but obviously I need to see it. And then it was terrible, but I saw it. They'd also done stuff like they did like a Humpty Dumpty one as well. I believe that's the same guys. Or like a Christmas Tree Killer one. I know like the Cinema Snob had reviewed a bunch of these. They have a sequel coming up that has Tigger in it because Tigger is now also in the public domain. So great. They got that going. And as much as I go, all right, well, that's lazy. Like the Mickey Mouse one, well, not Mickey Mouse. Sorry, Disney. I mean, Steamboat Willie works because predominantly Mickey Mouse is a guy in a costume. So that would work in the slasher dynamic because I think they have like Mickey's Mousetrap is one of them that's coming up. Screamboat Willie was a joke made on The Simpsons like 30 fucking years ago. And there's been evil Mickey before in things as well, so this isn't anything particularly new. And granted, I'm the fucking dude who turned Pokemon, which isn't public domain, into an 80s slasher movie trailer with Catch 'em All, Kill 'em All, and I had the original voice of Professor Oak come out and play like the Dr. Loomis version of Professor Oak, and I spent a fortune on special effects and actors and shit like that. I had like the movie dumpster guys come out and do special effects, and the redhead chick I used to work with came out and she played Misty and stuff like that. And we built like we did Jigglypuff. The whole idea was I saw an old school goalie mask, like a Milek Jason style mask, at a used sporting goods store, and I was like, holy shit, we could turn that into a slasher movie version of Jigglypuff. And then somebody built the thing, and we did it, and I thought it was great, but nobody gave a fuck. So I was like, I was kind of ahead of the curve, but not really. Doesn't matter now. We also did a Barney one too that never got released. Around the same time that they did like an R-rated Power Rangers short film. I think like Casper Van Dien was in it. I did the girl with the purple dinosaur tattoo, and it was sort of like Nightmare on Elm Street take on Barney, where all the kids in the class that were playing with Barney were all part of like an MK Ultra style experiment that Barney was never real. It was about the government testing the exposure to a hallucinogenic on small populated areas. And, it would go from, the Dark Knight style interrogation room of this person who worked on it, who's kind of, blowing the lid on the government, to this girl in a bathroom who's got severe mental health problems from it. And you would hear the I Love You theme, but it would be done in the key of the Nightmare on Elm Street theme. When she closes the bathroom mirror, a fucked up version of Barney is standing behind her, and we shot it, and it was never cut together. And then I took that that musical cue and the fact that I had the Barney costume and wrote an AVGN episode that will never air, where I combined Stranger Things, Splatterhouse, the Barney not Truth or Dare. It was like a Barney it was a Sega Barney game where you had to like stop and go stuff, but I took all the things from that and made it into like this weird fucked up fever dream version of Barney, and it was written and it was all ready to go. There's a really famous picture of the big dude I used to work with sitting with a Barney doll that gets like shared a lot on that Reddit group. That was supposed to be from that episode, but never happened because COVID happened. It was just too much work for people, but I still have the musical cue, and I want to use it in something eventually. We had this cool location we were going to use, and we had the suit, and all the effects were all situated. It was going to be that, like, you think that Barney is like the creature that's keeping them all these, the chimera that's like keeping all these like possessed children there, but it turns out that the kids were actually the creature, and it's very Lovecraftian. And in the end, the Barney doll would be replaced by a like AVGN doll, because now he's in there representing the Barney character. Like, so I wrote this really fucked up, weird episode back in the day. But it's like, it's easy and fun. I mean, it's not easy, but it's fun to take something really kiddish and turn it into a adult horror thing, and it's been, like I said, it's been done. It's just now that we live in this era of Clicksploitation, you can get more traction from taking something like that because, we live in a TikTok world now. Like, everybody wants that, like, the clickbait vibe of everything. It's like exploitation movies and grindhouse movies, but in a digital age. So, the reason I'm of two minds about this is I'd love to see you take something that's fallen into the public domain and do something different with it, not just do a slasher movie with it. I saw somebody's doing a Steamboat Willie, but they're doing it like a LA Noir, but in the style of Cuphead, and which Cuphead is obviously taken from Steamboat Willie. I was like, yeah, do more like weird shit that's outside the box. If you made a really, really like hard-boiled detective version of one of these things, or like Popeye next year is in the public domain. There's a lot of really cool shit you could do with Popeye that, has never been explored before. But I guess like the reason that I'm not anti this, because again, I've said millions and million times before, like if I was gonna do, if you're gonna remake something bad and make something good out of it. Like I would love to do a really fucking awesome remake or sequel to The Brain That Wouldn't Die. You know, there's a million movies and books and shit that's in the public domain, comic book characters that are in the public domain. That's why like Alex Ross was doing like Masks for a while, where they took all the characters that had fallen into public domain and kind of updated them and made them into like more modern style heroes, but still in a detective noirish pulp kind of way. Stuff like that I think is great. So my biggest thing is like, you know, maybe we give the slasher movie vibe a break. Again, it's the easiest to do, it's the cheapest to do, it's the quickest you can do. For young filmmakers, find out what's going to fall into the public domain next year and start now. You could have your Popeye movie done and ready to release the trailer on the 1st, like the guys did with the Mickey Mouse Trap. The reason that I'm not anti this entire thing, though, is fucking Blood and Honey got to play in a theater. You know, that's wild to me. That's kind of leveling the something as cheap and hacky as a slasher movie version of Winnie the Pooh, you know, and probably the Mickey Mouse one too, or I'm sorry, Steamboat Willie. I keep doing that. Will probably get a theatrical run as a Fathom event or whatever. It's a chance to level the playing field. It's a chance to give filmmakers an opportunity to be seen, to make some money, because that's really the goal of the entire thing. So, I mean, I understand the desire to do it as cheap and quick as possible, but I also think that with a wealth of built-in lore and everything you have around some of these characters that are long in the public domain or coming up in the public domain, let's just be better. Let's try something different and something a little bit more fun and wild with it, because I think if you extended it past just doing a slasher movie version of it, I think you'd get a lot more clicks. And granted, I don't know fucking shit about filmmaking or film in general. I've been trying to make movies for years, and you know, look where I am. But I think if this is going to be a trend going forward where indie horror can buck the system, and you know you got built-in eyes for people going like, oh fuck yeah, I would watch I'll check out a you know, a Winnie the Pooh slasher movie or whatever. Let's get a little bit more, you know, let's try something different with it. Let's get weird with it and wild and keep indie horror alive and yeah, I don't know. I saw so many posts about, you know, doing Steamboat Willie and you know, stuff like that I was like, all right, there's clearly something here. There is a groundswell of filmmakers. You know, you have your filmmakers who go, oh, whatever, it's so like beneath me. I'm fucking Ingmar Bergman over here. And then you have like the people like the Dustin Fergusons and stuff like that, Sean C. Phillips or whatever, who've been doing this shit for a long time. You know, and more indie filmmakers are kind of getting in on this floor, and the oversaturation may eventually kill the entire thing, but while we're here, let's get fucking weird with it, man, and let's try things to make indie horror fun again. Just as I got to my big closing thought, my phone started ringing and I had to stop. Yeah, so I guess in closing, I don't see this as a bad thing. I don't particularly see it as a lazy thing, as a lot of people have said. I see it as an opportunity for people for filmmakers to kind of play within the margins of something that's a bit bigger than them, an opportunity to get seen, an opportunity to continue this Clicksploitation era that we're living in. Again, let's get interesting with it. Let's have some fun with it. And I guess down below, you know, how would you turn one of these public domain things into a new type of film? What's something that's in the public domain that you'd love to do, or something that's coming up in the public domain? What's a bad movie that you'd love to make a sequel to or a reboot to? You know, there's so many places to go with this kind of stuff nowadays, and also the fact that it's gotten so much easier for people to shoot and distribute content, that in all the noise and as huge movies are failing, you know, there has become this groundswell of ways to get your work seen, and it's whoever can come up with the craziest, weirdest fucking shit that would make somebody like me go like, again, like, all right, I'll watch it, you know. And that's kind of where we are now when it comes to these kind of movies. And it's nothing new, you know. Exploitation and mining old public domain properties is a tale as old as time. But you know, I'm interested to see where this goes and keep following it. And you know, we're not far from. Well, I'm sure we'll eventually get to like Amityville Popeye, you know, or you know, Steamboat Willie versus Pulgasari, or I don't know, whatever, you know, whatever's in the public domain. So this is my public video where I talk about the public domain and the state of horror that we're living in. And you know, I think that horror, you're gonna get that. Is horror hot again? It's like horror is always hot. That's the reason that we do this shit. Um, you know, what about Steamboat Willie? But it's like the last voyage of the Demeter. It's a ship that runs on souls, and he's like shoveling souls into the pits of hell or into the fires of hell on the boat. Yeah, I don't know, but you can't do Screamboat Willie because the Simpsons did it. Uh, Screamboat Killy. There you go. You know, I should have just left this when my phone rang. All right, have a good one, guys.